Thinks he's
Okay, ma'am.
waiting. Sir is waiting.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Good evening. My warm greetings to all. I welcome you all for the fifth session uh, of Faculty Development Program. Dr. V. Shanmugaraju, sir, Principal, E.S.Arts and Science College, going to share his knowledge about research route map. Now, I would like to call Dr. Shanti, Madam, Head of the Department of Biotechnology, to give welcome address.
Thank you, Dr. Gajalakshmi ma'am. Education is the most powerful weapon which can be used to change the world. A warm greetings to all. A respected chairman, Thiru K. Loganathan sir, Vice Chairman Thiru L. Naveen Prasad sir, Director Admin Dr. M. Prabhakaran sir, Director Academic Dr. V. Karnanidhi sir, Principal Dr. V. Umadevi ma'am, and dear faculty members, good evening to all. It's an instant of incredible privilege and honor for me to welcome you all to this impressive event. It's a great honor for me to introduce and welcome our chief guest, Dr. V. Shanmugaraju, Principal of E.S.Arts and Science College, Viluppuram. He started his career as a lecturer in Department of Gene Technology in J.J. College of Arts and Science from 2002 to 2003. He continued his service and placed as associate professor and head of the Department of Biotechnology and also a coordinator of PG Diploma of Bioinformatics in Dr. NGP Arts and Science College from 2003 to 2018. He is serving as a Dean Student Affairs and Professor in Department of Biotechnology in Dr. NGP Arts and Science College from 2018 to till date. Currently, he is working as a principal of E.S.Arts and Science College, Co-Education, Viluppuram. He received many awards and honors such as Indian Academy of Sciences Summer Research Fellowship, INSA SRF, Fellowship from DPT, India for attending training program in CFTRI Mysore. Best Faculty Award from Nehru Group of Institution with the cash prize of rupees 10,000. And he also secured university first rank in PG level. And he secured Best Reviewer Award from Darshan Publishers with the cash prize rupees 50,000. He served as a PhD examiner for Bharatidasan University and Annamalai University. Under his guidance, 4 members awarded as a doctor and 2 scholars pursuing PhD. Under his guidance, 4 members completed MPhil degree and 1 pursuing. And he also placed as a very important role in doctoral committee member in Bardiyar University and Annamalai University. And also he is placing as a Senate member of Department of Biotechnology in Bardiyar University. And he is a biological expert, member of Institutional Animal Ethical Committee, KMCH College of Pharmacy. And he is a member of BOS in Department of Biotechnology in RVS College of Arts and Science. He published more than 20 papers as a chairperson in many national and international workshop seminars sponsored by DPT and DST. He organized many national and international conference, workshop, seminar, hands-on training and research projects by received the funds from UGC, DST, DPT, SERB, ICMR, TNS, CST, KMCH, DRDO, Abbas Biotech, and Medox Biotech India Private Limited. He presented more than 10 papers and also participated around 50 national and international programs. He is playing as editorial and review board member in International Journal of Advanced Research in Biological Science, International Journal of Engineering and Advanced Technology, International Journal of Advanced Multidisciplinary Research, and International Journal of Current Research in Biology and Medicine. Once again, I welcome you, sir, and thank you for accepting our invitation and coming over the program. So without consuming any time, I would like to hand over to our chief guest to enlighten us with his words of true wisdom. I ensure the program will be lucrative and rewarding for everyone present here. Thank you. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I hand over the session to our chief guest.
Thank you for your wonderful introduction and generous mindset that means to include everything which is there in the resume. Good evening, everybody. So it's my great pleasure to share my views regarding the basics of research. That's how a basic research can be conducted with limited resources. First, I would like to thank the chairman of E.S.Arts and Science College, Mr. Sendil Kumar, who has permitted me that means to deliver this lecture. So, at the same time, I would like to thank the principal and the management, the organizing secretary of this program, Dr. Sandhi from Department of Biotechnology, so and all other organizing committee members, participants. So, very good evening, all of you. Can I share my slides?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So the topic will be research route maps. Okay, so I didn't go for any specific topic. So in general, that means what are all the things we need to do? That means to conduct a good research with limited resources by applying for funding. That's a research funding. Before going to our session, so with the words of Valluvar, I would like to start my session. Noi nadi, noi mudal nadi, adudanikum vai nadi, vai pachayal. நோய் இன்னதென்று ஆராய்ந்து நோயின் காரணம் ஆராய்ந்து அதனை தணிக்கும் வழியையும் ஆராய்ந்து உடலுக்கு பொருந்தும்படியாக செய்ய வேண்டும். So here Tiruvallur clearly explained that means how a treatment should be there. So what are all the things we should do, that one. For that, what are all the research a person, that means those who are treating the disease should do that one. So we should analyze the root cause. So what is the reason behind that one? For that, what is the suitable drug? Okay, then whether the drug will be a suitable one to the concerned person or not. So like that, different level of information is needed that means before prescribing any drug, that means for the treatment of any diseases. In the similar way, while we are going to start our research, so we should know the basics of certain things, that means before going for any research. That's what our session will be for another 45 minutes or 50 minutes. Okay. So the session will cover, so what is the research proposal, then components of research proposal, prerequisite for research proposal, or the research project. However, so that only I have mentioned it's generally it says RP. Okay, it may be a research proposal or the research project, because for both the components, the information what we are going to discuss, that will be remains same. Okay, then the presentation of RP, then do's and don'ts, then discussion. So this will be our whole session for another 45 minutes. Probably, are you all able to see this picture?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So if any difficulties or concern is there, please inform me, because so I am using only one system as of now, so I don't have another alternate system right now. So if any difficulties or in the visualization of slides or in the audio, please inform.
Sure, sir. We will inform.
Okay, thank you. So you can see the picture. Okay, if you ask the different person, for example, if you ask any blind person, that means to describe, that means what is the elephant, so they will touch the different parts of the elephant and they will give different perception about the elephant. So one may tell that means it looks like snacks, another may tell it looks like tree, another will tell it's a rope. So like that, that means a different perception will be there. This is the exact current scenario that will fit with our research also. Okay, if you take any research, so it based on the perception of the researcher. Okay, so if the whatever the for the same parameter or for the same information, different discussion parts may be there. The best example will be if you take the nanotechnology research, the physics point of view, their analysis and their conclusion will be in one manner. For the same product and the same method, from the chemistry perspective, they will give another sort of information. Obviously, if biology person, you take the same information, so for that means they will give another set of explanation. But actually, the fact is, for the same information, we are giving different sort of explanation or the discussions. Of course, it's needed. That means we cannot deny that. That means all should give. That means the similar perception or the similar things. But always fact is fact. Okay, so that we are not supposed to forget. So to minimize that error, that means unwanted errors. So what we need to do means we have to follow some standard methodologies and standard protocols. That means that will be suitable for the getting or arriving to a neat and constructive conclusion. So that's what we are going to do with session. Okay, so coming to the point, that means what is a research proposal? It's simply a document, so which seeks for funding. So that is research proposal. So if you write any research proposal, so what is the objective of the writing research proposal? So you have some idea, you want to get fund from some other funding agencies. For that, you are submitting the documents. So that all those documents collectively will be called it as research proposal. So it includes many things, but very simple. It means the document which seeks for funding for your set of objectives. That is research proposal. Okay, for what purpose we are doing? So broadly, those the research funding may be in different categories. The first one is research funding. Of course, it may be a major research or minor research or interdisciplinary research or whatever may be the thing. So first we have for the purpose of research, you can get the fund. Then for infrastructure development, you can get the fund. For HR development, we can seek the fund. To conduct or organize conferences, seminar, workshops, we can write for funding. Then nowadays, that means most of the funding agencies, they are giving most of the funds that means for the technological development. So these are all the major areas that means where we can seek the funds. So the document which seeks the funds that collectively will be called as the research proposal. So the research proposal may falls in any one of these categories. That is the research funding, infrastructure funding, HR development funding, or conference seminar funding, or technology development funding. Okay, what are the components of research proposal or the research project? So if you take the research proposal, that the PI or institute information, so that will be there. If it is the research project, that information is not needed. Instead of that, you will have the researcher name. Similarly, at the last 2 points, that's a budget and the enclosures that may not be there in the research project, but that is included in the research proposal. So that's the only difference between research proposal and the research project. Even in most of the cases, that means to prepare the project document, that's the research project document, that's for MPhil or PhD also, we can follow the similar format. No problem with that one. Okay, so if you take the components of research project or the research proposal, we all know that. So title, the first thing that means what we need to find is the title. Okay, so what is there with the title? So why we have to give that much importance to the title? So very simple. So it should be more precious and it should be more apt and it should be more simple to explain. That means what is the concept we are going to looking for. Okay, so many people, they used to give a lengthy title, or they will give a lot of jargons or a lot of to show their intellectual in the vocabulary. That means they used to give some of the words that means which may not be easily understand by the others. Okay, so like that of things and all used to be there. Okay, better we have to avoid all those jargons and everything and all. As far as possible, that should be more simple and it should convey, that means what we want to do. So probably with 1 or 2 lines, that means we have to give that one. So obviously that can cover. Suppose if you want to specify any geographical location, that means that can be given in that one, or any particular problem you want to address, that problem may be given in the title. Or if you want to address a particular group of people, that can be mentioned. So like that, that means that core area of the research problem, what we are going to work, that means that may be given in the title. So the main thing which we need to consider while fixing the title is, so as far as possible, that means we have to keep that one as the in a simplified and that means easily understandable way. So that we need to consider, that means while fixing the title. Then obviously next we have to give the project investigator or the principal investigator on name and their institute information. Okay, so here what you can do means probably some institution may have some reputation. They may be ranked in NAC, that means A double plus in NARF top 100 institution, or probably they may be autonomous institution or Center for Potential of Excellence, DBT star status scheme. So like that, they may have some sort of advantages. So what you can do means while giving your affiliation, try to include those kind of information in your institutional address or the institutional name, because that will add the advantage that means to the reviewer or the person those who are seeing your project. That means that your institute is having potential, that means to implement that project. So in such a way, that means you have to follow a standard format, that means to represent the institution affiliation. That's very much important thing. If nowadays, that means we have got some most of the project that we used to submit, that means through online. So in that case, we may not get that type of chance. That means what you can do means, so those informations can be designed in your letterhead. That means that can be uploaded. That means where some of the documents are required by them. So during that time, that means that will help them. That means to know about your institute. So like that, you can do the thing. Then obviously that means you have to make sure that means whether you are a PhD holder or not. That means whatever the requirement, that means they are asking, that has to be there. Then obviously your name, so you should have the proper name and everything and all that, that has to be clearly spelled out. Then project summary. So since nowadays that means most of the funding agencies, that means they are asking us, that means to submit through online. So what they are doing means first they are taking the summary, project summary. So first they will ask us, that means to give the summary of the project, that means within 100 words or 150 words. So like that, that means they are specifying the thing. So before preparing any project proposal for the submission, so these are all the points you need to consider. So what you need to do means in a more precious way and more simple and understandable way. That means you need to prepare the project summary. Project summary means, so what is the objective, main objective of your work? Okay, then what methodology you have proposed, and also what research gap you have identified. So for that, what methodology you have planned. Okay, then what is the expected deliverables? So like that, that means these are all the information should be there in the project summary. So that has to be there. Probably for each line, that means you can give the weightage of 2 or 3 lines. So the total weights, that means it should be around 250 weights, means it will be more fine, because most of the funding agencies will ask us, that means to submit the thing in the with the 250 weights. Okay, so by that way, that means we can prepare the project summary. Then introduction, of course, it's introduction. So many people, they used to write, that means 20-25 page of introduction and a lot of things. That means sometimes you may not be able to discriminate, that means which one is introduction and which one is a review of literature. So because in both the cases, that means they will give a lot of information with references. Introduction, what we need to do means we have to give the of course, the scope of the study that has to be included to some extent. That means we can touch that means what is the importance of the topic, that means what we have selected, maybe the gap what we want to address, that may be there in the introduction. That's a need for the study can be given in the introduction. So that is very much important. So like in such a way, that means we have to take. So if it is in more, that means what we have to tell, that in a more simplified and understandable way. If it is 4 or 5 page, that means so based on the page restriction given by the funding agencies, or even for the project thesis also, if it is around 10 or 12 pages, that will be more fine. That means no need to go for 30 or 40 pages and all. So it should be in a more simplified way. So like that, the need for the study that can be emphasized in the introduction, and the scope of the study, and that means the deliverables what we are expecting, or the research gap, that means what we want to address. So those points can be included in the introduction. Then coming to the review of literature. So obviously the review of literature, so based on the review, first step, that means while we're going to finalize the title and everything and all, so what we need to do, that means we have to collect the relevant information, the literatures or the research papers which is available to the area, that means where we have selected the research, what we have selected for the research. So we have to clearly spell that what research already they have done in the topic what we have selected, what gap we have identified. Okay, so how we are going to address that one. So for those informations, we need the supporting documents. Okay. So for particular title, some already the authors, they might have studied, that means many parameters. After reviewing, that means all the research papers, you will come to know, yes, of course, in this particular topic. So people already, they have done these kind of works. So these are all the works which need to be addressed. So like that, we need to find the gap. That's the main purpose of that, means doing the review of literature is to find the research gap. Okay, so to find out the research gap, then how that gap can be addressed. So for that purpose, we need the review of literature. So well, at the concluding part of the review of literature, that means we have to mention that one. So in some of the cases, that means what people used to do means they used to give 30 or 40 references with that means what they have done on everything and all. But after studying all those things, that means what we are going to conclude from that information, that is very much important. So conclusion part or concluding remarks for the review of literature. So based on the available literatures, so in this particular domain, so these are all the points already they have addressed. So in the present study, that means these are all the gaps we would like to address by studying the review of literature. The concluding remarks has to be there. That means at the end of the review of literature. So obviously now in most of the funding agencies, they used to ask us, that means what is the national status, what is the international status. So by that way, if you are able to segregate and if you are able to give the information, it's well and good. But for some of the studies, that means you may not be able to get, that means the segregated way. Some of the research, you will get more information from international level. It may not be available with us. So that and all, that means we can adjust, that means based on the situations. Then research gap identified. That's a very important thing. Exact.
Because listen clean அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு ப்ரொசீஜர் இருக்கு. ஈஸியா லிஸ்ட் பண்ணி நம்ம ஈஸியா க்ளீன் பண்ணிக்க முடியும். ஸோ அதனால நம்மளோட ஸ்டாஃப் எப்பவுமே பயங்கர ஹைஜீனிக்கா இருக்கும். அண்ட் இன்னொரு முக்கியமான விஷயம் வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா சுப்பீரியர் டர்பன் கிளாஸ் இதுல இருக்கு, ஜுவல் டோன் ஃபினிஷ். ஸோ அதனால பார்க்கறதுக்கே பயங்கர எலிகென்ட்டா பயங்கர பியூட்டிஃபுல்லா இருக்கும். ஆனா அது மட்டும் இல்லாம ஜம்பு கார்னர்ல இருக்கு அப்படிங்கறதுனால ஒரே சமயத்துல
somebody unmuted themselves. I think they're speaking. Organizers, please mute them or ask them to mute.
Prestige film pressure cooker நம்ம ஒரு தீபாவளி சமையல்ல இன்னைக்கு நம்ம ஸ்பெஷல் கெஸ்ட் வினோத் ஆல்ரெடி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கெஸ்ட் நம்ம செஃப் கிட்ட ஃபோன் பண்ணி கேட்டு ரெக்வெஸ்ட் வச்சு ஒரு டிஷ் வந்து செஞ்சு கொடுங்கன்னு சொல்லிட்டு எப்படி
Madam,
Participants, please check your audience. Check your audio, sorry. Participants, please check your audio, please.
thank you.
Okay.
It's a research gap identified. So that's what I have told you. That means after completely reviewing the literature part, that's already available research informations. So what we can do means, that means we have to find out the gap. That means what is there. That means what issue, that means they have not addressed, or what parameter we would like to add. Okay, so like that, that means that gap should be identified properly. Okay, because based on the research gap identified only, that means we can frame the objective. So whatever the objectives we are going to frame, so for that only we can frame the methodology. So these things, all these things are interrelated. So the base is, that means first we have to prepare the review of literature. So after go through the review of literature only, so we can get all the information, that means all the inputs for all those things. That's a problem identification and the objective framing, methodology designing. So for all those things, we need the review of literature. So such an important part is the review of literature. But unfortunately, many of our students, that's especially while taking our PG students and all, that means they are not giving that much importance for the review of literature. That means they used to write the review of literature at the end of the research. Okay, this just to write the thesis, that means they used to do that one. So my kind request is, that means we have to avoid that kind of activities. So probably first we have to collect the papers. That means after collection of papers, we have to go through that one. So through that, that means we have to identify the problem or the research gap. Then based on the research gap identified, we have to fix the objectives. Okay, so coming to the part of objectives, we can have 4 or 5 objectives. That's based on the project or based on the study, that means we can keep. But it's advisable, that means to avoid, that means keeping more objectives. So a very small points and all, that means there is no need to give the as a separate objectives. Okay, so 4 or 5 or like that, that means we can keep it in a reasonable numbers. Objective should be a measurable one. That's very much important thing. So you should be able to measure that objective. So or else, or that means the whatever the research gap what we have identified. Okay, so that research gap should be addressed properly. That means in our objectives. So by that way, that means we have to frame the objectives. Okay, then methodology. So whatever the objectives we have framed, for that suitable methods we have to give. If you take some of the thesis or some of the research or some of the research proposal, what they used to do means their objective will be in one line. Methodology simply they will add something which is extra or something which is not which is required that may not be there with that methodology. So like that, that means we are not supposed to do that one. We have to clearly see the objectives. Okay, while seeing the objectives, we should design, that means what kind of methods we are going to follow, that means to address that objectives or to get the expected deliverables for that particular objectives. So that is very much important thing. So exactly what required, that means to achieve the objectives, that has to be there in the methodology. So what will be the first step? What is the sample collection? What is the method of sample collection? The area of sample collection? How many samples I am going to collect? By using what method I am going to collect? How I am going to store the sample? How I am going to transport the sample? So what methodology I am going to, or what procedure I am going to follow? How I am going to preserve the sample? Then what analysis I am going to do it first? What is the next? So what is then? So like that, what technique I am going to use? Where I am going to use the technique? Okay, whether it's available with me or not. So other I have to go for other lab. Okay, so like that, that means all those things that should be there in the methodology. So all that protocol, that means the way how we are going to proceed the our research work, that should be clearly spelled out in the methodology part. Okay, so obviously to have a that means for the smooth conduct of research, while framing the methodology, we have to keep it in our mind. That means what are all the facilities available with us. Okay, so based on that, that means the suitable methodology can be devised. Or suppose if we don't have the required facility, that means where I am going to compensate that facility, or I am going to use that facility, or where I am going to hire that facility. So all those informations, that means we can verify and we can do that one. So why I am specifically telling this information to you means, so I have one personal experience with my PhD scholar. So first he has started his work, that means while he starting the work, that means we have the plan, that means to work with the angiotensin converting enzyme. Okay. So then we have started and we have procured the chemicals and everything and all, that means we have done everything. But in between, while coming to see the protocol in more depth manner, so then only we came to know that that means we need ultracentrifuge for that one. Okay, obviously we don't have that ultracentrifuge in our lab. That means while I am working in Dr. N.G. Patterson Science College, then almost now the time is, that means almost 7 or 8 months over. So then we were trying to use that facility from different labs for some period, another 6 months we were trying like that. So that was actually required for the screening purpose, the initial screening purpose of the angiotensin converting enzyme activity. So then we have struggled for 6 months. That means we are not able to go in a way that means what we were expecting. Then we have dropped that plan because we were not in a situation that means to get that facility in our lab. But to use that facility, that means my student, that means she used to travel for 100 or 150 kilometers, that means to that one. Then they have to transport the material. So like that, that means a lot of issue was there. Then we have dropped that topic. Then we have gone for the amylase inhibitor enzyme studies. So that all the facilities were available with our lab. So we can do that one. So for initial screening, that means without trouble, that means we can do that. So like that. So we have to take care very well. That means take care. That means what facilities are available with us. That means whether is it possible for us, for how long we need that facility. That means will it be manageable without that in our lab or not? Or if we are going to hire from other lab, that means whether it's in the accessible distance or not. So all those things are matter. That means based on that, that means you can design a suitable and a very good methods that means to conduct the study. So that's about the methodology part. Then innovation with research proposal, or in most of the research or the most of the research proposals, they will ask us, that means what sort of innovations that means you are going to expect, that means from your research. So obviously that researcher has to find out that means in what way, that means they are going to support for the information, that means which is related with the innovation. Then deliverables. Okay, so after conducting all the research that you have done the excellent review of literature, through that we have identified the research gap. Then we have framed the objective by suitable methodologies. That means you have done everything and all. So what is the deliverable? So what kind of deliverables you are expecting? So I need, that means I will get this information. So I will get solution for this particular problem, or I will get drug against this particular disease or against this particular bacteria. So in society, this problem is there with that particular group. Through my research, I am going to find out the solution or the strategy that means to solve that problem. So like that, what deliverables we are going to give. Okay, that has to be listed as like the objectives. So we have to give the what deliverables we can expect, that means after implementation of the studies. Okay, that has to be clearly dealt. Okay, then relevance to the society. So for most of the funding agencies, they are asking us, that means to give the relevance to the society. Okay, you are conducting study, we are giving or we are funding you. That means at last, that means how that output or the deliverables can be used for the society, whether it is used for the policy making or it's going to improve the lifestyle of particular group of people, or it's going to improve the healthcare sector, or this your product will be useful to diagnose a specific disease or monitor the environment related parameters. So like that, that means in what way that research is going to helpful for the society. So this point may be looking very simple, but to address this question, we have to select the suitable research problem or the research topic. That's a connectivity here. That means we need to understand. Okay, simply we can write, so I am going to do this one, not like that. Exactly speaking, that means if you identify the real problem which is needed to the society, we can easily give the answer for this question. Obviously, most of the funding agencies, they are asking this part. So we have to address that one. That's a relevance to the society, that we have to prepare ourselves. That means how we are going to do that one. Then another important thing, that's a time frame. Okay, so how you are going to implement your study in different frames or in different durations. So that's a time frame. So obviously, if you take any funding agencies, minimum 2 years to maximum of 3 years, or in some cases it may be 5 years. So like that only they will give you the time. So obviously you need to take the frame in that during that. Suppose if it's the 3 years project duration, so probably for 3 months for your review of literature collection, another 3 months for your sample collection, then for another 3 or 6 months, that means for analysis and everything and all. So another 6 months, that means to prepare the documents. So like that, that means we need to give the suitable time frame, that means for the research. So that we that should be a realistic one, and that means by seeing the constraints, the practical constraints, that means we have to frame the time. Okay. Then another important point, that means which we need to consider, that means while preparing the research proposal or the research project, that's a budget. Okay. If you're applying for funding agencies, obviously that means they used to have, for some of the projects, they used to have the maximum slab. For some of the things, there won't be any limit, ceiling. So based on your project, that means you can apply. So, but based on all those information, that means you can fix the budget. Okay, so even that means while fixing the budget also, that means we have to take care of that. That means exactly, that means we have to do a survey. That means, or suppose if you, any instruments involved, that means you have to collect the quotations and you have to verify that whether that means that is suitable or not. That means even while collecting quotation and all, that means if it is the imported instrument, that means anything additional amount we need to pay or not. What about the tax or a tax exemptions are there or not, or else that means how much we need to pay. Then during the project tenure, that means what will be the maintenance cost will be there, or any other consumables are needed, that means to run that instrument or not. So like that, that means all those things should be considered, that means while finalizing the instrument budget. Similarly, so how much manpower resources we need for that one. So whether we are going to take the technical assistant or the project assistant or the research assistant or the research associate, like that, that means which kind of or which category or gather of people, that means we want, that means to implement the project. Okay, so like that, all those things should be considered. Whether any travel is involved or not, that means if travel is involved, that means what mode of travel we are going to do. Okay, so how we are going to manage that one. Whether you need any budget, that means for other routine activities, that's typing, printing, and everything, and all document preparation. So all those facilities are available with us or not, or else that means for that, that means whether we need any budget, any chemicals, consumables. So all those things and all we have to see. That means what brand of consumables we are going to procure, that means what is the budget involved in that one. So all those things should be considered. then we have to discuss with the service providers or the scientific agencies. That means probably we will submit the budget now. Probably in the month of February, you are submitting the budget. Submitting the proposal. Probably March they will give the government budget. They will release the government budget. The rates may differ. So you have to consider all those things and all. That means while submitting the budget. So because in some of the projects or the funding agencies, they may have the provision that means to adjust the budget based on that tax and everything, and also they may give you the chance. But in most of the cases, they will not give you that option. That means whatever the project budget you are going to submit, so that will be the final one. Maybe probably during presentation, they may ask you, that means, or they may give you the chance, that means to revise the budget. But anyhow, all those things should be kept in the mind. Then another important parameter, if you are telling that you need 2 JRF, so what is the justification? So I need this particular instrument, whether that can be hired from nearby sources or not, or that can be adjusted with the nearby labs or not. So like that, that means you need justification for everything what you have included in the budget. Okay, so how it can be managed or how it can be important, that means for that work. So that justification is very much important. So that also we have to take care. So then obviously enclosures, probably undertaking from the principal investigator, undertaking from the head of the institution, or some of the cases they will ask you to enclose the quotations, that means what you have received. Okay, so or if it is a joint project, they will ask you to submit the MOU what we have signed. Okay, so like that, that means different enclosures, maybe the documents which is related with our institution, maybe the fund, that means already whatever the funds what we have received for that, they may ask us the undertaking on the status, that means UGC approval and other status, DSA or recognition. So like that, some of the documents are needed, that means for some of the projects. So all those things, that means what you need to do means you please keep all those informations in the soft copy format, then that will be easy for you. Means because almost all the funding agencies nowadays, that means they are asking us to submit the project in the online mode. Okay, so maybe probably 1 or 2 titles may differ, but if you take any funding agencies, for most of the funding agencies, these are all the component parts of the research proposal. So you have to give, for most of the things, they have the word restrictions, or that means the page restrictions, that means this much word or this much file size has to be there. So like that, that means they used to tell. So all those informations you have to go through, that means before preparing the proposal. So once if everything is ready, that means you have to keep it in the as a separate files, because then only it will be easy for you, that means to upload those informations in the portal, online portal, ERP portal, that means what the concerned funding agencies are using. Okay, but these informations are required. That is very much important. So any researchers, or that means any people, that means those who want to submit documents, or those who want to submit proposal for funding, so they have to do all those things. Okay, so this everything we have done, that means and we have got some output. Okay, then you have submitted, and then you will be called for the presentation. So everything will be there. But before that, just I want to include one more information. You might have heard about this story that say a frag with no legs is deaf. In Tamil, நீங்க தவளையோட காலை எடுத்துட்டீங்க அப்படின்னா அதுக்கு காது கேட்காது அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு கதை இருக்குதுங்க. So what is that story means? A researcher, that means those who are doing research with the frog, first they are allowing the frog, that means to jump, that means with that 4 leg. It's jumping on particular distance. So he is concluding that a frog with 4 leg, that means he is able to jump, that means still 4 feet. Then he made some injury with 1 leg, and then asking permitting the same frog, that means to jump. Then little bit that means reduced distance, that means from the previous one. So now he is writing the conclusion that a frog with 3 legs can jump up to 3 meters only. Then similarly with the 2 legs 2 meter, then 4 legs, that means it was damaged, or that means injured by the researcher. Then out of pain, that means the frog, that means it's not able to jump. Then while he give the command, that means to jump, that means obviously the frog, that means it's unable to jump. Then he concluded that a frog with no legs is deaf. Okay, so I am sharing this information to all of us means that's what our interpretation nowadays, that means with most of the research. It means we have data. If you take any, most of the report, either it may be a MSc project report or MPhil report or PhD report or the research proposal report, whatever, that means after implementation of the project, what the report they are going to submit to that one. They used to give all the data in a very nice way. So we have very good sophisticated instrumentation. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. If you take most of the reports, I'm very sorry to share this information. We used to give all the informations. That means all the data. That means you might have done some specific Maldito. Okay, you may have the very good graph and you used to give that one. You have done, that means 2D gel electrophoresis. Of course, very good gel photo. You have done antibacterial sensitivity test. Yes, of course, very good data, very good table is there. Okay. Most of the time, that means we are lagging and we have forgot, that means to relate all those informations, that means into a information, that means into to give you a meaningful output. So everything, it used to be there, 30 pages of results or 40 pages of results used to be there. But if you take the discussion part, nothing will be there. It may be for 1 page or 2 page. In discussion also, most of us, that means we used to tell that means this is given this particular antibacterial activity. This much zone of inhibition was produced. Okay, through that means what we want to infer. That is very much important thing. That's what that I have given this story that say a frag with no leg is deaf. Because our interpretation most of the time, that means that used to be like that only, that scenario has to be changed. Okay, yeah, real in-depth interpretation, that is very much important. That means to get the meaningful outcome from any research. They may have very good objectives. They may have identified good research problem. They may have dealt that problem with a suitable methodology, everything and all. They have got very good results. That means in terms of the data, that means for each parameter. But most of the research side, that means we have failed, that means to interpret those data in a right way. That's a issue here. Yes, rightly, that means if the 4 legs are injured, that means it may not be able to jump. So obviously, instead of that means what we are telling, that means it becomes the tape. So like that means we are interrupting in many of the cases. Okay, that has to be avoided. So what we need to do means, so we have to, in a sincere way, that means to analyze and to compare the results. That means, as here also, that means the review of literature report plays the important role. So if we have the a strong base of review of literature, that means that will be helpful for us. That means to interrupt the data what we have obtained, that means in a meaningful way. So that review of literature, obviously, that means which is less significant with the perspective of many of the researchers. Okay, that is the actually the heart of the research. That means to do many part. That means many work with the research project or the research proposal. That means what we want to do. So this is one of the example for that one. Then prerequisite for the research proposal or the research project. Obviously, what we can do means, if you want to work with any research or any topic, so what we have to do means, first we have to write one review paper in that particular domain, the area or the research or the problem what we have identified. So what we need to do means, first we should try to write a review paper. So obviously, it's by having the previous research papers, that means we have to go through all those papers. Then from that means what we want to conclude. So that will be the review paper of that particular topic. Once if we write the review paper, we will come to know, that means what gap is there, already what are all the issues they have addressed, what else should be addressed in our research, what difficulties they have faced while addressing that particular area. So how that can be avoided in our research. Okay, or what extra informations or the informations which is not explored in the previous researches. So all those things and all can be easily identified by writing a review paper of the problem what we have identified. So, but many of us, that means we are not doing that one. So if you write the review paper on the topic of research, that means what we have selected. So that's a very good move, that means to implement our research in a constructive and the meaningful way. Okay, so for the purpose, so it's advisable that means to write a review paper the first 3 or 4 months time. So what we can do means, so we have to write the review paper. Suppose I have the plan that means to apply for a research proposal to a specific call of either DST, DBT or ICSSR. So what I need to do means before 6 months itself, that means I have to plan myself. So in this particular domain, that means I am going to apply the project. So what expertise I have in that particular field. Suppose if I don't have the expertise, I have to go through it and I have to write a review paper. I should publish the review paper in a reasonable journal. That's a very much important thing. So publication, it's not for the namesake. That means in a reasonable journal, that means we have to submit it and that should be published. So it indicates that, so already you have the base for the problem what we have proposed. So the reviewers will see it in a positive way. That means, of course, already you have done the groundwork and you know you have the clarity that means to move with that research. So like that of helping hand will be there. That means if you publish a review paper on the topic, that means in which you want to do research. Obviously publications. So already if you are working with that particular area, so the quality publications will be a helpful factor that means to proceed with that with that particular proposal. Then once after having the review paper or this, you have by having 1 or 2 publications in the preliminary level publications. So what we can do means, before applying for the funding, so we can do a pilot study about the problem. That means what we have selected. Okay, suppose I have the idea that means to select the particular plan, that means for the specific activities. So what I can do, that means I can take the a little bit of sample and I can check, that means 1 or 2 things. That means whether any challenges which I need to address, probably in the extraction I am able to extract it in the comfortable way or not, or anything, any problem I am facing, or any disturbance are there, or the extract what the solvents what we are using that is not suitable to find out a suitable molecule. So like that, that means these kind of informations we can get. Okay, so if you conduct the pilot study, even if you include that pilot study report in your research proposal, that's an added advantage. Okay, so like that, that means we can conduct the pilot study of the problem what we have identified. So that data will be a helpful one, that means to apply for a better research proposal. Then expertise on the proposed study, that's very much important thing. Suppose if we are already expertise in that field, it's well and good, maybe probably through your degrees or diplomas or the trainings what you have attended. So that's what we are going to include our profile, that means to the funding agencies. So there, that means you can give all those informations. Suppose you are not expertise in that field, but you want to do that particular field of research. So what you can do means, try to attend some training program in that particular field or workshop in that particular field. So by that way, that means try to get some base level of knowledge in that particular field. Then that has to be spelled out. That means, yes, I have started, that means to get expertise in that particular proposed area of study, because that will give the confidence, that means to the reviewer or the funding agencies, that you are able to implement that particular project. Okay, suppose if you feel that for the implementation of that particular research work, so more than one expertise is needed. So in that case, what you can do means, we can select the co-investigator or the collaborator, that means for the implementation of the research project. Due importance has to be given, that means for which segment of work, that means you need the co-investigator or you need the other person's support. So that can be clearly mentioned, that means in the proposal. That means like this, that means the expertise required for this particular study can be managed. So that has to be there, that means with concern to the expertise on the proposed study. Then resource mobilization or the identification. That's what I have told you. That means while discussing about while framing budget, that means what are all the things, or while framing methodology, what are all the things we need to do. Resource mobilization in the sense, so the facilities which I don't have, that means where I am going to use that facility. I can, that means before submitting the proposal itself or before starting my project itself, I can communicate to 3 or 4 lab persons or the peoples. So such that means I have the proposal, that means to do this kind of researches. During some time, that means I may need that particular facility. So I heard that means it's available with our lab. So is it possible to share that resource like that? That means you can get the concurrence or that means approval from the concerned people. That means where you want to mobilize that resources. So like that of preliminary work and all, you can do it. So after that, that means you can frame the methodology or you can frame the research proposal. So that will be easy for us. That means to once if it is sanctioned, that means no need to implement it in a hurry-burry way. That means in a relaxed manner, you can implement that one. Then list of experts. So whatever the topic or whatever the problem, that means we have select, what we need to do means we need to list the expert, those who are worked in that particular field, especially in and around us, probably the same state or probably within India, then in foreign, okay, in the overseas countries. So like that, we should have a list of 4 or 5 peoples in each segment. If you need any help, that means you can contact them, or if they have any papers, that means you can request them, that means to share their papers, or you can ask for your opinion. That means I have like this of idea, that means to do while I was searching, that means I came to know that means you are working in that field for quite long period. So whether these all the things are advisable, that means to proceed, or have you faced any challenges, if you share that part, that means it will be helpful for us, that means to refine our methodology part. So like that, that means we can get the opinion from the list of experts, that means those who are working in the same field. So that also can be done. So that will be helpful for you, that means to implement in a smooth way. So that can be done. Then collaborations, of course, that already I have told. So it should be a meaningful collaboration. That's a very required one. So just for the namesake, just I want to collaborate with this particular lab, this lab, not other than that. Whether really it's needed for your study or not. So if it is needed, whether that lab is having that particular facility, what you are looking for, whether that person is having expertise in that particular field or not, whether that expertise is really needed for this particular study. So like that, all those things should be considered, that means while going for the collaboration. Once if it is the collaboration work, that means what we need to do means we have to give due importance to all the collaborators. Okay, there should not be any violation of the ethical aspects of the collaboration. So in terms of publication, in terms of sharing of funding, so all those things and all, that means we have to clearly spelled out with our collaborators. So these are all the things which we are expecting from you. These are all the benefits what we can give to you. So like this, we can give you the authorship to you. So all those things all clearly mentioned and discussed before going for the collaboration. The issues should be addressed very neatly. Okay, then if you have any PhD student in that particular domain, so it's well and good. Okay, so or else no problem. That means you can do that one. Awareness about funding agencies. For the, suppose some of the funding agencies, they used to give the funding for general cases. Some of the specific calls used to be there for your specific problem. So like that, that means we have to know, that means for this particular area or the title what we have selected, that means whether that will be suitable for which funding agencies. So when at what time they will give the call for. So like that, that means all those information and all we should have. And the visiting of website of different funding agencies, that is very much important thing. So nowadays, that means almost most of the information, that means that's available in the website of the concerned funding agencies and different institutions. So we have to visit the websites. Then online submission requirements. That's what I have told you. Even very recently, if you see that one for ICSSR, 2 times they have extended the time. I think today is the last date, that means to apply for the major and minor research project. Previously it was 7. Then so all those things and all that. So obviously, so now especially nowadays, that means before, if you have the idea, that means to submit for any funding, so you should have clear idea about the online submission requirements. What are all the documents needed? What size it's required? We should have all the scanning facilities and very good internet connectivity. So very good system. So because all those things are all needed, that means for the successful submission of the proposal. So all those things, that means that has to be kept in our mind. That means while going for the research proposal preparation and the submission. So these are all the basic prerequisites, that means which is needed, that means for the successful submission of the research proposal. Okay. So these are all the some of the titles, that means which I want to share with all the delegates. That's first one is the investigation on key performance indicators of low performing quality institutions and development of growth strategies for their business advancement. The second title is corporate sickness, socio-economic, political and legal issues and implications. Then the third title is socio-economic status and educational attainment of female children of tea garden workers in southern districts of Tamil Nadu. These 3 titles, so I have given these 3 titles to you, means the first information is these 3 projects are approved by ICSSR, that means for funding. These 3 projects are approved by ICSSR in different category of domain, that means for funding. Okay. Then you can see the titles. They have clearly mentioned what it means, what problem they have identified, in what region they have identified, what of people they are going to do, output they are expecting. Okay, so all mixed status. So there that means all the parameters will come. Then educational attainment of female children. So how that means they means educated first in southern district of Tamil Nadu. Okay, so like that means you can see that means in nowhere in these projects which is approved by the funding agencies, they have not used any complicated words or any vocabulary that means which is not easily understandable by the reader. Okay, so not like that. You can see that means all the titles are very simple and very simple words in the very neat language. So nothing that means more complicated, lot of adjective conjunctions and everything and all that means not like that. So very simple words and very easy to understand. That means what the researcher want to do. So that's what I have told you. That means while framing the title, that means how it has to be there. Okay, so that only that means I have taken these titles from the funding agency's website. That means where they have approved for the funding. Okay, so this for information. So to the concluding part, in science, the credit goes to the man who convinced the world, not to the man to whom the idea first occurs. So it's a famous quote. Most of the microbiologists know that one. So who said this one, and that means all those things and all. Of course, it's suitable for us also. So many people they can do the research. That's not only issue. Nowadays we have a lot of instruments, lot of techniques are available. You can easily derive the data. It's not only issue. Okay, getting data, obtaining data, it's very easy when compared with 10 or 15 years back or 20 years back. Nowadays, that means for all the field, that means you can get enormous data. Okay, the only expertise or the thing is that means where differs. That means how we are going to use that data, how we are going to infer the data, what are the data what we have obtained, how we are going to get the conclusion or the information out of that data interpretation. So that is very much important thing. That's what they have told. So in science, the credit goes to the man who convinced the world. So how we can convince the world? That means how you are going to infer the data in a right way. So that will help us. That means to convince the world, not to the man to whom the idea first occurs. That means suppose you may have done the same research, but if you are not able to infer the data in a right way, so you may not be a person that means will be recognized by all others. Okay, even a simple table can give multiple informations, but the same table can be given as the 10 different separate tables by another researchers, which may not give you a meaningful outcome. So like that of differences are there. So with the small quotes, that means I am happy to conclude my session. So if you have any queries or clarifications, so I am ready to clarify that one. That means according to my knowledge, that means what I know. Okay, so thanks thanks for giving me this opportunity. So once again, I thank the organizers, so especially the organizing secretary. That means for giving me this opportunity. So on the management of the institution. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Participants, if any doubt, get clarified from this, sir. If there is any doubt, okay. Thank you, sir, for your valuable information. I would like to call Dr. T. Nadia ma'am to give welcome address.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, one and all present here. On behalf of management and IQVC team, I would like to deliver the vote of thanks. Now, this is time to convey gratitude towards to everyone. I like to express my profound gratitude towards management, directors, principal, and vice principal for their blessing to, and support to arranging this faculty development program. I would like to thank our honorable resource person, Dr.V.Shanmugaraju, for taking out from his busy schedule to be with us here today. Sir, you have started this session from Tirukural. It was very fantastic, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are sharing the direction of research proposal. What is the research proposal and the components of research proposal and the research gap and how to find the research gap, pre-requesting for research proposal It is covered the step-by-step work in research area and how to applying the funding proposal. You are clearly explained the complete research work. It is very useful for all research scholars and faculties where everyone participates actively. So thank you for giving the wonderful session, sir. It's my pleasure to thank you all for the enormous support and patience given by you all. I hope this session is useful in all research scholars and faculty members. Once again, I thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, organizers. Can I leave?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir, sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Feedback. Participants, you are asked to fill the feedback form. நான் தப்பு பண்ணுவேன்னு நினச்சேன், தப்பு பண்ணிட்டேன். நான் என்ன சொன்னேன்? You are asked to submit the fill the. தப்பு பண்ணிட்டேனே வேற. தப்பு பண்ணிட்டேனே வேற. என்ன மழுப்புறது அது? மத்தியானம்.
Ma'am.
ஐயோ, எனக்கு சொல்லுங்க மேம்.